Tuesday, July 2nd, Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Bruce Johnson. Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Public comments, nothing in person? Anything on? Clerk Treasurer Lehman. Claims approval.
Good morning. We have several claims that need to be approved. We have the second quarterly payroll for $1,926.88.
I move we approve the quarterly payroll.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
We have payroll for June 21st in the amount of $542,881.89.
I move we approve the June 1st payroll.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
We have a very large Civil City docket. $2,108,610.26. That does include about 1.4, a little over that, in lease payments. It also includes the expense to utility associates from the DEA asset forfeiture. And then we're paying bonds, fire bonds, GO bonds, TIF bonds. If you want specifics, I can give that to you. Courtney wrote them all out for me.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I move we approve the Civil City claims.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Then we have water claims in the amount of $254,688.94. Can't read today.
Oops, sorry.
That's
I move we approve the water claims.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And we have sewage claims in the amount of $305,779.91.
I move we approve the sewage claims.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'd like to now move to the LaPorte Sewage and Water Bans Resolution.
We should have Tom Pittman.
Tom Pittman, good morning, welcome. If you would state your,
Hold on. Now, Tom, can you hear us all right? Yes. All right, this is Nick Otis, and I've got Mayor Dermody here. Mayor, if you want to go with it.
morning.
So today we have resolutions for LaPorte sewage and water bans. Tom Pittman is our attorney that we work with that does our specialized bond financing. Mr. Pittman, if you could kind of briefly explain to the Board of Works the bans, and then I know we have Eric Walsh from Baker Tilly that can talk about that as well.
Certainly, thank you. The action before you today would be the first step in the legal process of procuring bond funds for your sewer project and your water project. The way this process will work is that initially you will not do long-term financing, but you'll do short-term financing, which I know Eric can go into more detail on. But these resolutions would basically launch the process, would have the Board of Public Works acknowledge the need for these projects and request that the City Council take the actions necessary to secure the funds. Eric, can you elaborate on that? You're on mute.
Eric, welcome.
Thank you. Yep, I apologize, I'm in the car, so hopefully just went through it exactly right. The way this financing is being laid out is a preliminary bond anticipation note would be the first step for both utilities. We're working with Superintendents Jerry and Tim right now to finalize the initial phase of the project. I know there's some roadway projects, et cetera, and Mayor, I don't know if the superintendents were there or not, but they can elaborate more on the specifics. But we're working through what projects exactly really need done in the near term, and some of that is being driven by some roadway projects and some timing needed there. Once the bond anticipation note is sold and finalized for each utility, that will give you a 5-year short-term financing. So you have up to 5 years to pay that note back, okay? And you'll pay interest only through the 5 years. You can pay some principal if you'd like, but it's interest only. And then within that 5-year time frame, we would be working with the city to go to the market and issue long-term bonds. Those future long-term bonds are what will repay this bond anticipation note. So not to be too elementary here, but I know you don't go through this every day. So to reiterate, there's some projects that have some near-term needs. We need to finance those, but there's also some projects that are a few years out. So rather than have you guys do a bond today and another bond in 2 or 3 years, what we're proposing is you do a short-term financing up to 5 years now, so you can start on these interim projects. And then as the other projects become ready to be bid and let, we'll issue one long-term bond for sewer and one long-term bond for water, take out the short-term financing, and then you'll have a typically 20-year plus repayment on those like you have with other bonds. The other question that typically comes into play here is rate needs, because if you're borrowing funds, will this affect your utility rates? The short-term financing we're talking about, the bond anticipation note, we do not expect any rate adjustment related to that. Your current rates can support that financing. As we build towards the long-term financing within the next 5 years, depending on the size and what projects get included in it, we'll be talking about if there will be rate impact at that time or not, but there will not be rate impact at this initial issuance.
But Eric, I want to make sure we're clear for the public. When we started this, and you've been along as a partner throughout, and Tim and Jerry from Water and Nick Minnick and from Wastewater, when we took over, we have 100-year-old infrastructure that's going to cost $100 million to upgrade. And the dollars, we're using the monthly water and wastewater bills to pay for these upgrades. So we could either do nothing and have the lowest, smallest bills anywhere and still have waste backing up into streets, into people's front yards, or like all communities do, we can use our water and sewer rates or bills to pay off this infrastructure and upgrade the infrastructure, which again, overall, we've already done Monroe Manor. We're already seeing improvements in letter and number streets. And this is just the process we've talked about since day one. And our rates are still very competitive, if not lower than the state average, and competitive.
Lead lines also.
And lead lines that have to be replaced based on the federal government's requirement. So all this puts together, we're using monthly utility bills to pay for this infrastructure improvement. So it's not like these monthly bills are going, we're wasting money. All of it's going back into infrastructure for our residents.
Yes, you're exactly right, Mayor. And just from a proactive planning standpoint, so the board and the public have some context here, these projects are all part of a 20-year plan that water and sewer both have. So these are not unexpected projects. To your point, Mayor, the pledge of repayment on any financing that you have in the utilities and for these projects would be utility rates. So yes, your utility rates of the residents are what will pay this back over time. again, it's a step in a 20-year process, and I'm sure at the end of that 20 years, there'll be other aging infrastructure that needs replaced. So it's a continual need of investment into your system. The other piece I would say is the suggested route that we're talking about here with the short-term financing, and then in the next 3 to 5 years, a long-term financing is the most efficient way to do this, because it's saving you funds instead of doing a bond issue today and then another bond issue in 3 years. We're trying to combine that timing and save some costs, and also potentially save some interest down the line if interest rates come back down as inflation, et cetera, cools, to do this the most efficient way possible for the city. The piece, and I don't know, it sounds like Tim's at least there, maybe Jerry is too, the piece on timing, why this is so important is, I believe, and correct me, Jerry, Tim, if I'm wrong, it's the Indiana Avenue project, right? Because that project's gonna start here in a few months.
Yes, that's
You
correct.
guys have to have your local portion ready to go, correct?
We have to write a check to NDOT in September.
Yep.
Yes, so that's why the timing of this short-term financing is being brought to you now as a board, is because we need to get that financing in place. But again, we're not saying, well, let's go bond for 20 years to just do that project. Let's get the money to do that project and a few others that we know need to get started here in the next year. And then when we're ready to do the long-term bond, we have 5 years to get that ready to go, to take out the short-term financing and do the additional projects.
Eric, this is Nick Otis here, and I think you've kind of indirectly said it, but the cost, the issuance cost of getting a bond versus a bond anticipation note, there's a significant difference in cost, right? Going to the market and that type of legal costs, accounting costs. So this is a much cheaper option, short-term option, than issuing a bond now and a bond later, correct?
Yes, so, you know, you talk about the lead, and I'm not, Tom can opine on this from his perspective, but the ordinances you have in front of you actually authorize both the short-term financing and the long-term financing. So you're kind of clearing that hurdle initially with these documents that are in front of you today. And then from the financing standpoint, yes, we'll likely still go get a rating for these bond anticipation notes because of their size. But in terms of what we'll actually need to take to the market to close on the bonds, et cetera, you're typically looking at half to 60% of the cost of actually doing a bond. So it is cheaper to do that than to have two separate financings.
Yep, perfect.
Is there anything Mr. Jackson or Mr. Warner would like to add?
I just, you know, we've been talking a lot about Indiana Avenue. It's creates a trunk storm sewer that will serve the area further to the west. It's kind of puts us in a good position to do further sewer separation. We're getting a bargain on it because we're doing it in conjunction with NDOT. So I think it's a project we absolutely should do. The other part of the other big project on the books for us is the Headworks rehab of the treatment plant. That was built in the middle '80s, and it's just time. So these are money going toward infrastructure, nothing more.
And Jerry, what the Headworks program for the public, they're gonna go, how does that affect me? What does that do for the residents?
Well, the residents see what goes on in the streets and all the sewers that convey the sewage and stormwater away, but that's gotta go somewhere. So the wastewater winds up going down to the wastewater treatment plant, and we always call it the mothership. It's gotta work. And the Headworks screens the wastewater, takes out the grit and the sand and everything before you do biological treatment. So this is the very first stage of the treatment plant. And the screens in our 1980s vintage, the grit removal was 1940s and 1950s with some rehab in the 80s. It's time to redo that piece of it. We've also got some new sludge pumps in this project. So it's all the mechanical part of the treatment plant.
Plus, I would also like to add, yesterday, we had a press conference where we thanked Congressman Frank Mervan for $1 million that he was able to secure from the federal government to help with water and sewer, the infrastructure underneath on Indiana Ave. And, I mean, think about that. If we didn't have that $1 million, a lot of that work wouldn't be done. And that means we're not separating sewer, and that means waste is backing up into the streets and into people's yard. And that $1 million was gonna go somewhere. it was gonna go somewhere in the United States. We competed through the congressman's office to have that $1 million come back to LaPorte. We don't want it going to Alabama, Mississippi, New York, wherever. And I want to thank Congressman Mervan's office again publicly that he was able to get that $1 million because our residents deserve it, so.
It's amazing.
So, certainly, while the 80s don't really sound like that long ago, it's 40 years ago, right?
Until you really start doing the
40
math.
It's
Really
45
start doing
years
the math,
ago,
it's,
yeah.
it's aging, if anything.
And that was a rehab, I believe you said.
It was, and,
Just a
and
rehab, so not, you know, a full, I mean, from earlier it was 85 years ago, so.
Yes.
That's a long time.
it's a long time. In
That's a
fact,
lifetime.
back in those days, the federal government was giving us 85% grants. And those days are past, unfortunately.
Darn it.
Yep.
So this series of kind of short-term financing to then roll into kind of long-term bond, Indiana Avenue, Headworks, any other anticipated large projects that we would expect to kind of pull in, in the next couple of years before we roll this into a long-term, like a long-term bond, right?
So some of the infrastructure that needs to be moved for the Tipton Street overpass will also be included in this. For the water department, to also be adding on to the well field that we recently created. I'll be speaking about that a little bit later, but we definitely got into a good source of water there, so we don't want to restrict ourselves on bringing in a new water supply or well field to Plant 1, the Lake Street plant. Lots of looping projects and some redoing of Plant 2. It's a pressure filter plant that was built in 1964. Had some remodels done in 2011, 2012. We need to go through and open up those pressure filters, probably redo the media in there, take out some old clay valves and put VFDs on there so we're a little more efficient when we're throttling the water system. We can do that electronically instead of pumping against a halfway closed valve. If you think of a 60-horse motor, if you're pinching a valve down to restrict that flow, you're still running that 60-horse motor at full bore. When you can do that through a VFD, which is a variable frequency drive, it actually chops that electrical signal. If you think about electric signal coming in somewhere, a VFD kind of chops that up so you're not getting that full load all the time, and you can kind of throttle through the VFD to save money that way also. And then some work at the Lake Street plant. 3 years, the Lake Street plant will be 100 years old. And it's time to do some work there too. So just to, one thing that both the water and wastewater try to do is we build for the future. So we got a lot of stuff going on in LaPorte. So as we make these changes, we're not just addressing or bringing our system up to date at this time. We're also building for the future.
And you mentioned also some additional separation sewer.
Jerry will have some additional separation, but we're gonna be doing some more looping projects with that. I know we've talked about that a lot in the past, and I know that the fire department has noticed the flows that we're getting out of some of the hydrants now. To get back to the Indiana Ave, we've always had a 6-inch main that ran down that Indiana Ave. We convinced NDOT that we no longer put in 6-inch main, so we were able to get that upsized to an 8. Once they approved that, we came back and said, yeah, we really want a 12-inch main in there. So now we're paying the difference between 8 to 12 instead of 6 to 12, and that's a good trunk line going right through the middle of town. It'll feed all those side streets really well with better water flow, which will help everybody with water quality and fire flows.
There's a
And-
substantial amount of work that this is gonna cover.
Yeah.
Is a summary of all that you've said, and Tucker's nodding as well, so, yeah.
And just so the public knows, through the lead line programs and the grants, we've applied for several grants and through SRF and IFA. And the simple fact is that our rates are too low. The state of Indiana has come back to us and said, if you need this money, you need to raise your rates up, because they're looking to protect those higher rate increases, people that are above $100, $150 a month up, to keep their rates from going up. So basically, they've come back to tell us, like, your rates are too low, which our rates have always been historically low in LaPorte, but now it's time to raise these rates and address these infrastructure issues that we have in town.
But that's the key. We're not raising rates to raise rates. We're fixing and upgrading infrastructure. And I think Lawrence Street will also be as a part of this list. And people that don't want to raise rates should come out in a storm and come out to Lawrence Street and those areas like we're out there and see the backups that happen into yards, into basements, and the elderly people that have to address that. And so, again, we can keep rates low or do what most progressive communities do and upgrade their infrastructure.
So although, currently with this bond anticipation note, this window, the rates won't, I mean, kind of based on what Mr. Walsh was mentioning, that the rates won't likely increase during this window of the short-term financing pieces. It's only when we kind of get it all lined up, have all the projects together, and then seek that long-term note, that's when we'll look at what's the appropriate rate increase, which is likely to be a couple years out, probably.
Somewhere in that area, and fingers crossed, the interest rates go down in that.
Yeah.
Be a
But
good
even-
balancing at that time.
Hold on, Eric has something to say. Go ahead, Eric.
I was gonna say that's correct, and keep in mind, you're in the midst of a multi-phase rate adjustment that we did a few years ago. So your rates are already kind of adjusting for your last project and operational costs, et cetera, but exactly right, there's no need for additional rate adjustment for this interim financing. There is likely to be rate adjustment here when we get to the long-term financing. I can't really answer what that is today because the superintendents and the mayor are still working through what all projects will be incorporated into that future bond.
And the good news is the public will have an opportunity to come to public meetings, address their concerns, and we encourage that, so.
Fair.
Further questions? Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? Anything on social media?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Qualls parcel tax payment.
And Eric and Tom are good to go, right?
Yes.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Bert Cook.
Oh, thanks, guys. You're good for today. We'll be in touch.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Have a great day.
Yeah, good morning to the Board of Public Works. Bert Cook, Executive Director of the LaPorte Economic Advancement Partnership. I'm not sure if you need a lot of background. This is a process that we've followed in previous years. You have an outstanding incentive with the Quincy Development and the Thomas Rose Industrial Park for the spec buildings that they've constructed. This will be the, Joni, I'm looking at you, but I think it's the second payment.
I believe it is.
And obviously that extends out 5 years. The window for those payments extend out 5 years, but this is just the execution of the second payment, monies that have already been received at the county, and would go back to the developer.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Department head, brief department head reports. Andrea Smith, HR.
Good morning, board members. Andrea Smith, HR Director. I just have one thing, or it's just a reminder. We're having trench safety and confined space training to be held on July 12th. I know some people have RSVP'd. If you have not, please do so by next week. And then, Jerry, you and I will have to get together for a confined space to practice it. And that's all I have today. Thank you.
I'll be avoiding that training as much as possible there. Jess Bruder, Communications. Craig Phillips, Planning.
Good morning. So work continues ongoing with several different grant opportunities that the city is in various stages of with regard to housing and infrastructure opportunities. I will be putting the Beechwood Lakes property back out for public offering very soon, and then hopefully that will be coming back to the board with proposals for the public offering in September. That's our goal at this point. And then work continues on the city's comprehensive and transportation plan, and I think those are the big things for right now. So.
And great work to Mary Ann Richards for all the work on through your department on the sidewalks, and Nick Minnick's. They look great. And Tucker King, and the trees. I mean, this team has been working extremely hard, and when you look at the lower income areas between this team, Phase 1 being completed of the sidewalks from the lawsuit, and just working with residents, there's a tremendous amount going on every day. Tim Werner, water.
Yeah, just real quick, I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. We do have a little bit of an issue. It's a good issue with the well field that we're putting in. So the test came out really well out there. We're going to be pulling a lot of water out of the new well field. So we need to kind of
And could you explain for the public, what does that mean? What does that mean for them?
So that's a redundant water supply for the city. So all the water that we're chasing right now will come to the Lake Street plant. Right now, the East plant, Plant 2, does about 65 to 70% of our pumping because of upgrades we did in 2011, 2012. We put a new well field out there that added to the Kankakee well field. So basically, there's 6 wells that feed the East plant. Right now, we only have 2 that are coming into the Lake Street plant. So we just drilled two new wells. They both came out. We did 24-hour pump test on them and had very little drawdown, 0.3 of an inch in 24 hours, which is incredible. So taking a look at that and planning on putting 2 more wells out there, we just felt like, why restrict ourselves with a pipeline? If we can bring 4,000 gallons a minute in, which is what those plants can handle. Both plants are 6 million gallon a day plants, which is like roughly 4,100, a little over 4,100 gallons a minute. If we had to shut a plant down, we want to be able to keep up with the supply and the demand. And we handled it pretty good with American Rubber Fire. I know we came out shining, but we were stressed out. We need this water supply. So bringing this, upsizing from a 16 possibly to a 20 or 24 inch raw water supply line coming from Soldier Memorial Park into Lake Street plant just makes sense at this time. That's going to be our new well field. I'm going to probably be drilling another test well across the street here in the fall, just to make sure we can put 2 more over there. And both the wells, we could comfortably pump at 1,500 gallons a minute. We're going to build them for 1,000 gallon a minute. That protects the well in the future. You're not running it so hard. You're not bringing those fines in to lock the formation up. It's all about controlling that entrance velocity. So stepping those wells down will help them last longer. 50, 60 years is what we're hoping to get out of these wells.
Jerry Jackson, wastewater.
CBT is working, Bancroft is working on McClung Road Sanitary. They've made the connection in at the existing sanitary at Cableton and are going north. So that project's proceeding.
Nick Minnick, engineering, and again, once again, thank you all. The sidewalks and roads, it's important infrastructure for the residents. Thank you.
Yeah, and I will mention that everybody should be able to enjoy a open Truesdale as they go to the fireworks on the 3rd. So they were working on striping yesterday. There may be some daily closures after the 4th for restoration and work here and there, but the Truesdale should finally be open for the 3rd of July. I told them by noon on the 3rd. So that's our goal. And then also, we issue a lot of right-of-way permits for various things, and sometimes people come to the board for approval for road closure. Sometimes they do it through the right-of-way permit process. We're doing a right-of-way permit for NIPSCO, but I wanted to let the board and the public know it'll be over the next few weeks, and it'll be 2 to 3 days each location, and it'll only be daily closures. But they're doing work on L Street between 5th and 6th, and A Street between 10th and 12th. So again, that'll go through our normal process with right-of-way permit. They'll have traffic control and move people over. They have a plan to move them over basically a block. But did want to mention that work would be coming up over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Clerk Treasurer's Office? Legal?
Nope.
Jeff Batchelor, Code Enforcement.
Yeah, we've noticed an uptick in, I would say, landlords just throwing all their stuff from inside the house when people get vacated and just throwing it out by the road. It is not the city's responsibility to pick that stuff up. It's the landlord's responsibility. So we started fining people for that. But people need to take responsibility. That's a business. When you take and run a business, you gotta clean up after yourself and not throw it out by the road.
And also, when they say they're gonna do something and not do it, we're not the bad guys because we're enforcing it. So, there's some people that are committing to do things, and there's some slobs out there that don't care about their property, and, we're enforcing the rules. So, good job by yourself and Dan Drake yesterday, a rental house that just had dumpings everywhere out in the front. Ridiculous. You know, respect your neighbors, and we're gonna hold them accountable.
So, quick question, has the fining process, generally speaking, been impactful in terms of pushing, you know, these landlords to clean up, to not do what they're supposed to do? I'm just wondering if there's any additional things we can do if it's not working.
Yes and no. If people have respect for everybody else in the neighborhood, yes, it does help. But if not, then we can go to the chronic nuisance properties and do it through that. And then basically they could lose their house. And we don't want it to come to that. We just want them to clean their stuff up. But I mean, we do have other alternatives.
And it's out-of-town landlords in a lot of cases that don't care about the community like we do, so.
Right.
Dick Buell, Chief, Police.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. We have two of our new officers in training here today. I'd like to have them come down and introduce themselves to you and the Board of Works. Officer Rivera and Officer Utah, if you could come down.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome.
If you don't mind, each of you stating your name, give us a little background.
Oh, my name's Isaiah Rivera. So I did about a little bit over 6 years with the Chicago Police Department. Lateraled out here. Very happy to be here. So I appreciate the opportunity, and have a lot of experience with the city. I'm glad that I can bring that over with the city of LaPorte, but also learn what the officers in LaPorte have and integrate that together.
I'm sure it's a little different than the city of Chicago.
It is, yeah.
Welcome.
Thankfully so.
Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome.
Hello, good morning. My name is Aiden Yetchaw. Born and raised in LaPorte. Just recently graduated from Indiana University, and I was able to do a internship with the police department my last semester. Was really impressed, so wanted to apply and starting out. This is kind of a first law enforcement job for me, but yeah, really looking forward to getting some experience here and kind of serving that community that I grew up in.
That's awesome.
We'll work with you. We'll get some Purdue grads with you to kind of take you around and show you the ropes.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We're very fortunate to have these two gentlemen on the department. They're gonna help us improve for years to come. Thank you, gentlemen.
And welcome to the 4th of July parade, working and keeping us safe.
I think
Andy?
Officer Rivera is at 2 and Andrew.
Andy Snyder, Chief of Fire.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to report to the board, we did receive our ISO report back. That's the Insurance Services Office report they did last year, compiled all the information. We were previously a Class 3. We have remained a Class 3 city, so that is always good that we don't go backwards. We're looking at a lot of the information they've provided us and see if our next review here in 5 years we can make it 2. One of the items that's on the agenda today, I think, will make a very big impact on moving us to that 2 in the future.
Not to put you on the spot, but 39 North, we heard a lot about the insurance rating and so forth. They should see an improvement on their insurance, correct?
Yeah, they should be reflected now that they're in the city. And one of those big impacts, you know, we've talked about the water as being a problem out there, but one of the big impacts on that ISO certification is also readily available manpower. So now that they have a career 24/7 department responding immediately, that will impact, and should reflect our classification up for those homes there and businesses.
So just a quick question, residents out there, if they don't see a change, that's something that you'd recommend that they contact their insurance carrier and ask for a review of the changes in classifications
Yeah,
to
that's
reduce
what
their
they should.
rates?
Yeah, they should call their insurance. That's the little bit of the weird part of this. Certain insurance companies use that classification to different degrees. Some use it exclusively, some use it not as much. So it's whatever individual insurance company they're using, how that will impact it. So I'd like to be able to tell them, oh, you're gonna receive a $100 discount. That's not the way it works. Unfortunately, the insurance companies are the way that they use their formulas to dictate what that's going to be. But definitely follow up with their insurance companies to see if there is going to be an impact and a reduction.
Bert Cook, Economic Development. Is there anything happening from last night on 39 North while we talk about any development?
Feels like a leading question if I've ever heard one. No, I'm happy to share a little bit. So one of the projects on 39.
Obviously, you're not happy to share because I had to drag you from your seat.
I just heard you wanted to be efficient this
Yes.
morning, so I'm doing my part. But one of the projects on 39 North that we've been working with John English, Ed, and Deb Arnold and their team to try and bring forward, did move forward last night. That's the assisted living facility near the Hampton Inn. Very happy that the city council chose to support that project. Also appreciative of the fact that that development team was patient and worked hand in hand with the city in order to address all of the necessary items to move the project forward. We'll look forward to the start of construction on that. I know they're in the permitting process right now, but I know they're eager to start construction as soon as possible. And then also wanted to mention, I appreciate Matt Reardon and the County Redevelopment Commission who have agreed to support some of the infrastructure needs for that project in conjunction with our redevelopment commission. That'll be a big part of making that a reality is putting some of the public infrastructure in place to serve the site as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mark Schreiber, Parks. And great job, because I'm telling you, Fox Park looks amazing.
Yeah, we're really excited about it, and as the project is finishing up. So speaking of Fox Park, that will be the location for Wednesday night's Independence Celebration fireworks show. The fireworks show will go out over Clear Lake. Starting at 6 o'clock, we'll have some food trucks in the amphitheater area. Starting at 7 o'clock, LaPorte City Band will perform a patriotic performance for everybody. Hope we get a great turnout for that because it's going to be a great show. Tim King is going to do a version of Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA, which I think a lot of people will enjoy. So it's a great program. I hope people go to their Facebook page and kind of see what it's all about, and that we get a real strong turnout for that. The fireworks show will happen at dusk. There is parking throughout Fox Park. Obviously, there's various off-street lots, but also the amphitheater, Ron Reed Field, Thrills and Spills Skate Park, Scharf Field. There is public parking across the street from the banks. There is also the gravel lot across from the dunes that will be available, and then the lot near the boardwalk. So plenty of parking area there. We ask that you don't block any streets or cause any issues with that. We will have police presence out there, but should be a great fireworks show going off at dusk, and we're really looking forward to it.
And what time does that begin again? 7 p.m. with the band?
The city band starts at 7. And it'll be a little bit of an extended, they usually play for about an hour, but it's going to be extended probably by another 15, 20 minutes because they built out the program so large with the number of anthems and standards. It's going to be a really great show.
And food trucks will be available?
They will be starting at 6 at the amphitheater, yes, sir.
Is Arts in the Park providing shuttling that night too? I know they provide some
No, Arts in the
shuttling
Park is not
services.
involved with the fireworks show, but they will be doing their show actually tonight because Thursday being the 4th. So they have a band out there this evening. We didn't see the need for shuttling, mostly because people will be watching the fireworks from all the way around the lake. It typically is something that encompasses everything, so.
And then Friday?
And then
Taco
Friday,
Fest.
Taco Fest should be great. I believe we have between 10 to 12 food trucks, so expanded the number of food trucks of what we've even had in the past. Should be some great entertainment. I know there'll be a DJ out there providing music all night, beer garden. Going to be a great event. It's always one of our most popular ones, so looking forward to that happening again this year.
Mark, where's Taco Fest at?
That is at Monroe Street between.
Downtown, where it's
Yeah,
been
yep,
historic.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
It's a Friday Night Live event, so it's located on Monroe Street between Lincoln Way and State, and using the adjacent parking lots. So, yeah, it's always a big one. So we're preparing.
And then if you're still bored, you can hit the fair beginning Saturday.
Fair, Farmed and Foraged is on Sunday as well. Yeah, there's stuff going on. There will be fireworks over Pine Lake. That's not affiliated with the city, but a group of residents around Pine Lake have organized a fireworks show to go on Saturday night at dusk. So plenty of opportunity to see fireworks and celebrate. It's going to be a great week in LaPorte.
Mayor, are you running the 5K, the 4th of July parade?
You know, I was planning on it, but then I have to hand out water to make sure the runners are well.
Is that for Play for Jake? Juanes?
I don't know who puts that, is that
For
Kiwanis?
Riley's, Run for
Run for
Riley, for
Riley.
Riley Hospital. Mike Fraze, the spotless department, because I'll tell you what, his team has been amazing, cleaning trees, the streets, and they're looking great.
We're cutting trees today and getting everything set up for the 4th, so we're mowing over there by the dunes and getting stuff for spotless.
And street sweeping,
Has been done. It was out last night and stuff, so it's all ready to go.
Thank you.
thanks, Michael. Those department heads that don't have business before the board can go have a great day. New business. Indiana Historical Marker. Robert and Annette.
Actually, just him, I just wanted to make sure that, I had spoken to you about this before, and, they did take it back to the, historic, our committee, and he's here with your recommendations.
Welcome.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Bob Seco. I'm a middle school teacher out of Kessling. This year, we were talking about different inventors and food products. Turns out Fred Menon from LaPorte invented the old Jiffy Pop, right? So at first, it was like, that's kind of cool, you know, it's in TV shows and things like that. But then you kind of learn more about the history of LaPorte, right? And then you hear about the impact that he had on LaPorte. I mean, in 1958, at 506 Clay Street, they were cranking out 7 million of these at 29 cents a piece, right? And the next year, then he sold out to American Home Products. So they started cranking them out for 4 years. Then they built a new factory out at Fail Road and State Road 2 for like $2.5 million in 1964. And they got up to like 700 employees at the time of closing in 1984. Then it took them like 3 years to sell that property, and then to Alpha Baking out of Chicago, which continues baking as we speak today, right? So anyway, the impact that Fred Menon had on LaPorte and generations of employment, kind of huge just from this little invention. So, you know, my students undertook kind of a fundraising thing where it's like, well, hey, if you go to Valpo, Orville Redenbacher's got this nice statue downtown. You know, what do we have? Well, there's a little blue sign, you know, on Fail Road over the little railroad tracks, you know, Fred Menon Memorial Bridge. But, so I'm looking at the Indiana Historical Marker. There's like 5 of them around town, you know, from the courthouse and various things. So I started looking at that. Turns out that's like a $3,300, you know, nice big kind of iron sign. So then the question becomes, you know, on this 8-page application, you know, where to locate this. So in working with Bruce Johnson, the historian for the county, we thought Plaza 618 would be perfect. There's already a mural up there that basically goes through LaPorte history. There's even a popcorn part of it. But being only 2 blocks away from the original site where they're cranking out 7 million of these things in a year, we thought that'd be a perfect place. So I'm just kind of asking the board for permission, you know, and again, you can kind of figure out the spot, right? Working with probably Public Works, you know, Monroe Street might be good, or Lincoln, I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, that's kind of needs a vote of your stamp of approval before this application is due July 18th. So if you got questions.
I think it's very exciting. I think it's awesome, and I think you did a great job kind of summarizing the history and the importance of this, and,
Thank you.
And engaging our children, our kids.
yeah.
Well, the kids already raised almost $400 by selling a lot of popcorn toward the end of the year,
That's
so
awesome.
that's kind of good. So 2,900 more to go, so if you know any donors who want to donate, perfect.
Are they selling Jiffy Pop?
No, not really, we're kind of just doing it ourselves. I mean,
Gotcha.
profit margin, I used to teach economics, I mean, you got to make sure you're getting this is $2 to $3 wherever you buy it, so, you know, we got to make some money.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for all your hard work on it. I'd make a motion to approve the memorial marker for the plaza.
And could we also make that amendment to include working with our planning department to set that?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Well, I'd just add, first of all, very cool that the students came up with this idea kind of in conjunction with yourself. I mean, that's just awesome. It's a great piece of LaPorte history, but I love the fact that you brought in the economic piece of it, right, in terms of what truly it brought to the city with, again, 700 employees working at American Home Foods there on Fail Road. Unbelievable investment in our community that has, obviously it's changed right now with Alpha Baking, but certainly has paid many dividends for our residents for decades.
Yes.
So I really love the idea. If someone would like to either donate or buy some, are you still doing the popcorn fundraiser?
We're gonna do it at school, so we hope to get to about $1,000, throughout the course of next year. But yeah, I'd be looking for donations, so.
So if someone wanted to either donate or buy some popcorn through the fundraiser, like who would
So
they
the easiest way
contact?
to do is to contact me, rseco@gmail.com, RSIEKO. And checks made out to me, just kind of go right to this thing, so they know where it's going. It's gonna, once we get to 3,300, that's fine, so.
rseco@gmail.com.
Correct.
Thank you for leading this charge, and thank the students, and we look forward to seeing that placard very soon.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. Once they approve it, hopefully, next year would be a dedication ceremony. I might be coming here to ask you guys again for a date for the ceremony that Bruce and I will be planning together, so.
Thank you again for all your work, both of you. and the
I shared a
kids.
photo with the department heads. I almost employed the fire department recently when I cooked some Jiffy Pop popcorn.
I do have a motion and a second.
Don't put it in the microwave.
Sounds like.
No,
we
it
need
was
to give
not
a
the microwave.
donation.
There was a good flame coming, though.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Notice of use, Holy Family Parish.
The Holy Family Parish has, it's not really a request for use because they are not asking to close any right-of-way. They are going to have a processional for, on July 5th, and they'll start at Sacred Heart Church and kind of go down to Clear Lake Boulevard and then up Michigan Avenue and then over to St. Joe Church. And so they just want to make us aware of it. They did request some help from the police department, which was coordinated through the chief's office. And that's really all it is. They're not asking for permission. They just want to make people aware that they're going to be having a large group of people walking on July 5th. They will be using our sidewalks.
And maybe finish at Taco Fest.
Great idea.
It's early in the morning. I don't know if they're going to hang around for Taco Fest, Helen, but you never know. You never know.
Save their spot.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Request to set special Board of Works meeting.
So, coming up later in the meeting, there'll be some talk about why this meeting is needed, but I'm going to request to set a special Board of Works meeting for Friday, July 19th at 9 a.m., and the purpose will be to award a bid, 2 bids, I believe, actually.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I have one last item, and that is one that I do with a lot of excitement every year. I would like to request a half a day for our full-time city employees to attend the fair. The fair is next week, and we always ask that the department heads, of course, have the leeway to work with their employees when that time is taken off. But I would like to request a half of a fair day for our full-time employees.
And I think it's important to support that, not only from, as we talk about the local economy, but that's an important part, and our staff works extremely hard, our whole entire team, and this is an easy vote for me, and I think it is for you, to make sure they have a chance to be, we talked family first, a chance to be with their family and go out and enjoy what is special in our fair.
I agree, especially because most employees of the city aren't paid well. It's a benefit to them, and it's well-deserved. As you said, Mayor, they do work hard, and it's family time for them. So, and a great way to support something going on
I
in the
appreciate
county.
that. I do.
So,
I know that they appreciate it, that we do this for them.
And
Yeah.
to circle around it, it's the family time, right? And then, of course, anything you spend at the fair, obviously, kind of wraps around to support the 4-H program, which I'm not sure the number of kids, but I know it's a significant number of kids that are involved in 4-H throughout a variety of different projects.
I know of two of
programs.
them that sit right at that table right there, like, so, no, I appreciate that.
yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Jess Spoljaric.
Ooh, two
Yeah, right
times in a
off.
row. Nailing it, Mayor.
Thank you. Before you, I'll be really brief here. I have a contract before you, or rather an agreement, for Travel Indiana Magazine. We've partnered with them for the last 2 or 3 years here. This year, we did some pretty exciting stuff. In case you missed it, we had a 4-page spread in the spring issue with a 2-page editorial written by a journalist who came and actually visited LaPorte. Our contact, Amy, has been fantastic to work with. She always puts LaPorte first, which makes me happy, which makes the mayor happy. So just you're requesting permission to, I guess, kind of go ahead and move forward with this plan for next year, 2025.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, and if you haven't seen what they've done as a part to promote LaPorte, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, really, really happy.
You know,
Right.
being somebody who often uses kind of guidebooks and different things that I find for like when I'm going somewhere, you know, I love the idea. Do we have a sense of like what our return kind of is? I know it's probably very difficult to gauge that, but.
It's difficult to gauge because it's print, right? So I know that they have a distribution of like 55,000 magazines or something across the state, and I think they kind of cross state lines a little bit to hit those travel centers outside of Indiana. But it is statewide, it is widely read, they can track their digital, I'm not sure what their digital reach is. They have a Facebook page, they have an e-newsletter that reaches quite a few people as well. But it's hard to guess how many people are actually picking up the magazine and reading it. I will say that every time I have magazines here, they are gone immediately, so I would like to assume that that's probably the same in other places throughout the state.
I think it's become a bit of a novelty too, to see magazines, and so people do often pick them up in places of business. And
Right.
to say that we're reaching over 55,000 people, I think that's a really good outreach.
Yeah, I agree, so.
Are we approving option 1 or option 2?
Option 1, sorry.
So do I have an amended motion to support option 1?
So moved, if that was me.
Second.
Further discussion. Hopefully that we can get them involved when we have a 35th year anniversary of the Prancer movie, and hopefully can bring Sam Elliott and others back to LaPorte this winter.
And Prancer, more importantly, Prancer.
Yes.
Dancer.
I don't know, the females I've talked to, it seems like Sam Elliott's more important, but all in favor?
You are aging yourself.
I know, no kidding. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Chief Snyder.
Thank you, Mayor. I've presented a contract to the Board of Public Works today from WHP Training Towers. This is a follow-up to last week, or 2 weeks ago's meeting where the board allowed me to accept a $500,000 grant from the HFL. This is to move the project forward for a training facility for the fire department to be located out at our Station 3 site, which is on Daytona Street, just south of East Lincoln Way and Al's. We had talked about this previously last year. This is basically the same facility that we had discussed with Really no changes, other than there is some change in the cost, but the timeframes are very similar to construction as to what was discussed. As I mentioned earlier, in department head reports, one of the definite advantages of this, our ISO rating, one of the items that kind of red flagged to us there was that our training, right now we're receiving about half of the available points in the ISO classification of the training that is allotted. And one of the big factors there is not that we're not doing the training, it's just that where we can do the training at. Without having a facility of this type within our jurisdiction, within the city, they don't give us full credit for the live fire trainings, things, and associated fire trainings that we will be getting moving forward, as well as just the experience that our personnel will get having live fire training within the city. This is part of the grant that was written also. This extends out beyond just our department, police department. We've talked to the ERT team, which we have a member on the ERT team. This facility will be at their disposal at any time to do scenarios in, as well as a sheriff's office and other county entities, EMS. So it's much farther reaching than just us, but it will be, a huge benefit and primarily a benefit to the fire department. So I would ask that you would authorize approval to move forward with this contract. I know that the clerk treasurer's office, this will fund the $500,000 from the HFL will fund about half of the project. Now you're looking at the cost of the contract of $809,799 from WHP. There are some other associated expenses with that, and I know that the clerk treasurer's office is working diligently to secure that funding right now, and even have a meeting tomorrow.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
So with the, first of all, fantastic to have the grant from the HFL, right, to make this possible.
Yeah, thank you to them.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you. In going through the contract, it looked like it's like a certain batch of capabilities kind of within this building. Are you thinking that there was some, like, it seemed as though there was often departments might add things to it. Is that where you think some of the costs might go a little higher than what we've got here?
That might be, and there's also some grant funds that are available through the State Fire Marshal's office for once this facility is constructed, that we will be eligible for without having a facility in place. So those are some of the things that we'll look to fund through grants. Also, the foundation is one of the big factors here that is unfunded in that $1 million total that I'm talking about currently. So we do have the, in preparation for this, working with the engineer's office, they supplied us with the information, and a company that works closely with WHP Training Towers provided us with a foundation design, and it's ready to go. So we have the design, we just need to put it into actual concrete, for lack of a better term. And that's one of the big factors right there that'll be figured into this.
And the remaining funds then, outside of if we get some additional grants, will that just come from the fire budget, or?
That'll come from us finding some different bonding options potentially, or other grants to see that could then pay back on any bonding. But yeah, it's most likely going to be in that realm for the remaining, how much?
500,000.
500,000, or we'll find it
So
somewhere.
50-50 between
Yeah,
HFL
it's
and the
about, and
city.
the HFL loves 50-50
Yeah.
buy-ins.
I mean,
Well, I
when-
don't blame them. They need to see that the city has skin in the game, but the fact that it's going across so many different departments should also help us with other grants, right?
Correct.
That we're working with so many different, the outreach should be large.
Exactly.
Will there be a potential for departments outside of kind of our local community departments you mentioned to come in?
Yes, yeah, we, as part of even the grant, the volunteer departments that we work with on mutual aid, that was also part of this. Now, if you're talking about growing beyond that, it's, again, open. Yes, we work with other departments on a regular basis. We do trainings here and we invite Valpo or Michigan City or Chesterton or Portage or something like that. Definitely those will be included in this, as we are included in their trainings when they do them now, those departments that have facilities in place.
I like that collaboration.
And I'll tell you what, anybody that wants to debate whether we support our public safety teams in our city, we'll be glad to have that debate. We're a law and order community. You've seen with the increases both to fire, to police, you've seen the new facilities, you see this training facility for the fire department. We have to begin looking at a police department. That police department is a drain on our budget, and we need an upgraded facility. Plus, we need new officers and more officers because, you know, the Saturday alone, we're shagging people that don't want to live their best life here, but it's constant. We saw some behavior Saturday evening that, you know, we don't want these individuals in our community, and they're not welcome from my perspective, and we're going to drag their butts out of here if they don't want to keep our community safe. And I think Chief Buell is seeing this firsthand, and it's time. And again, I think Chief Snyder's done a great job for the new facilities that he has. It's now we have to do the same thing for police, but also we have people with warrants that need to be addressed. And when we talk about knocking those doors in, we have to have enough people to be able to do that. And when you have four on a shift, and you have a domestic, and I just walked out from the courthouse yesterday, and some woman, her husband or boyfriend beat her up. That's a scary situation. You have to have backup. So you have two officers for one domestic, and then you've got two other officers for the remaining portion of city. And if you want to even just pull somebody over on Lincoln Way or Pine Lake, if you get that one call, all of a sudden those two are gone, and everybody's running free rein, you know, driving and so forth. So it has to be addressed. And if we want to do what we really want to do is continually stay on top of keeping our community safe, the officers, from my perspective, is an important part of that. But we got two good ones here,
Yes, we do.
so. Motion, I do have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Nick Minnick.
You should have before you a draft of the Marquette Alley. This usually goes through Redevelopment Commission and Board of Works. We weren't able to get it on the last Redevelopment Commission agenda, but in order to have this area actually become a right-of-way, I am asking for kind of preemptive approval. So if it can be accepted by the board and then signed when the document is complete. This is, we call it Marquette Alley, but essentially it's a 40-foot right-of-way. When we developed Newport Landing, there was some flexibility in how that developed, and we're seeing that the need for an actual public right-of-way between the frontage on North Madison and then the area in the back that will continue to develop is necessary, especially for utilities. And in order to do that, the Board of Works would accept the Marquette Alley right-of-way.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
So are we looking to just approve the placement of the right-of-way, but no actual construction at this time?
It's already constructed.
So that's already there, okay.
Yep. So it's just acceptance of the right-of-way.
Okay, that's,
Yep.
gosh, I didn't remember seeing it, that it's there.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you to the good work of our Sustainability Commission and Tucker King and with his leadership on that group. We have progressed to, we've submitted a project or multiple projects to the state for a grant that the state through IDEM is submitting to the EPA. We are hearing very good feedback on the potential of getting funds. This is really a greenhouse gas mitigation and resiliency type grant. We're looking at various solar projects that'll help the day-to-day expense of keeping city facilities powered, and also battery storage in some areas, things like that. So there's a number of projects. It's exciting. We don't know what will come of it, but in order to keep ahead of it and potentially, if this money comes available, they would like to see some things happen this calendar year. To do that, we really need to have an energy service company on board. So I am requesting to solicit proposals for qualifications. It will go through the state's guaranteed energy savings code in order to solicit and find that contractor to assist us with that project.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. King, anything to add? Would you like to come forward and state your name? Put you under the heat lamp here.
I mean, just to go off.
Could
what
you
Nick
state
said-
your name for the record?
Yeah, Tucker King, Engineering Department. No, just to kind of go off what Nick said, it was a combined effort between the Sustainability Commission and myself to get this thing off the ground. I mean, Nick kind of pointed me in the right direction the first day I got in, and from there, kind of hit the ground running on it. It looks like it's going to help us, much like Jerry Solar Field has helped their
Wait, solar's not bad?
I don't think so, personally.
It saves us about 300,000 a year.
Yeah.
I would say that's not bad.
And so for the waste treatment plant, they're about 98% efficient, if I'm correct?
Only 92%
Oh,
of
sorry,
our electric comes
92.
from- Yep.
And a few of these projects are gonna be focused on improving that at the water departments as well. Maybe the civic auditorium if we're lucky, with all the new improvements we've done over there. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it all shakes out, but it looks like it's a really great opportunity for the city.
I like it, and I think it goes back to what Mr. Warner said earlier, we're building it for the future as well, not just for today or what works today, but looking ahead.
Yeah.
And saving money.
Motion to approve?
I think I already
Oh, I already do have one. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Jerry Jackson, permission to bid 18th Street.
This is the sanitary sewer extension that serves from essentially A Street to I Street. Part of it's the new development going in there. Part of it's some of the existing houses that didn't have access to sewer. We've got one with a failed septic right now. We're trying to do this project and Park Street on an accelerated schedule as far as bidding goes, so that we can keep pace with the development that's already happening and make sure we get roads in before the end of paving season. That's why we've requested the special Board of Public Works meeting. And that would be to award bids on that July 19th date. We'll receive them in a special meeting beforehand with the clerk's office, evaluating, having a recommendation for the board before that 19th meeting. The 18th Street Sanitary is about 50-50 funded from civil, city, and wastewater budget.
Can we bid that and Park Street together?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
You mean accept or vote on them, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, you said bid, okay.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah, 18th Street.
To bid, yeah, bid, sorry.
And Park
Permission to
Street.
bid on
Yeah, you
18th
can
and
vote
Park
on those
Street.
at the same time. Yep.
So I do have a motion for both. All in favor?
Aye.
Further discussion, by the way? Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Tucker King.
Tucker King Engineering. In front of you, you'll see, well, first we'll start with the Thomas Rose Extension and then the Park Street water materials. So, due to an error with the advertising for the Thomas Rose Extension materials list, we have to, we've rejected the bid offers that we received, and we're going to rebid that project. And to keep up with the timeline for the development, we are also going to put in the bid for the Park Street proper utility improvements for the subdivision that'll be going in there at the triangle at the end of Park Street. So the first spreadsheet you'll see is the one that you guys approved previously, and then the new one for $200,000 is the portion for the triangle itself, and that will be funded by the city of LaPorte, whereas the $600,000 was for RDC's approval.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, and then the second portion you see, similar to Nick's Marquette Alley plat, this is just accepting portions of our right-of-way that aren't currently on the state's inventory for us for community crossing grant eligibility, essentially. The first letter is the first sheet is the letter, and then the second sheet is the streets that, I mean, we've been maintaining for a long time, but for some reason just never were added to NDOT's inventory. So it's about 10 miles worth of right-of-way that will increase our MVH funding and allow us to actually take care of those right-of-ways, so.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. King. Unfinished business. I just want to kind of put out there, you see all that we're talking about here, that all requires money. And remember, 30% of our revenue since the property tax caps, which is a good thing for homeowners, stays with homeowners and no longer comes to the city of LaPorte. Yet we have not cut back programs, services, anything, because we're finding new ways to do things. And you talk about just the things we talk about here with Chief Snyder, Chief Buell, and others. Plus talk about paying people better. And I'll tell you what, that's why we compete. That's why you see grants. That's why you see us at the congressional level, at the state level, competing for every penny, and every penny literally counts. So when you see people running for office that want to further cut property taxes or further cut some other revenue that affects only locals and not the state, understand there is an issue that comes with that. At some point, the services, you can't provide what we're doing. And we welcome, and I welcome any of the candidates to come here to LaPorte to have an open discussion with the public, with us. I think we have a group of people here that want to keep taxes low, but we also want to provide services. And, you know, it only takes one time where we have a big issue, and it started even when the people were going to come in early in our administration in 2020 and come through the city of LaPorte and cause damage, and having enough officers, fire, and we all set up blockades. But at some point, we have to get control of providing our services to the residents that's the best as possible, and with that comes funding. So we encourage any of those state officials, federal officials that are running for office to come here to the public. We invite them to have respectful discussion on the future of government. And if from trustees, what does the trustee do for you? I mean, let's start talking about efficiencies throughout, from trustee government to federal government. And if there's things that the city doesn't need to do, let's talk about that. But we can't continue to do it the same way and expect different results. So I'm open to it, and we're going to continue to be successful. We are relentless. That was a word that Congressman Mervan used yesterday, and we will continue to be for our residents. And we're going to continue to grow, because if we're not growing, we're dying. And we've got a heck of a team here together, and we're all one. So that's my soapbox for the day.
I don't want to steal any of your thunder, but
Please.
I mean, having been, born here in LaPorte and lived here minus just a hair over 2 years for well over 50 years of my life, I feel we are experiencing a resurgence in our city in terms of the quality of the infrastructure we have, the opportunities we have for both employment as well as recreation. I think it's not anything that I've ever remember seeing in my lifetime. And having been here through some very difficult, dark days of closures of businesses that affected, our family personally, and so many, if not all families in the community. I think it's just tremendous. It's not easy to do. I mean, I always keep thinking to myself, I don't know if you ever use the words, but it's like, it's bootstrapping the community up with sometimes very small changes, sometimes very big ones. You have to borrow money sometimes, you then pay it back. I mean, this is kind of how it has to be done. And like I said, I feel like we are really experiencing a resurgence in the quality and vibrancy of our community. So I think it's a great time to be a LaPorte community resident. And it's only getting better. So thank you for the work you're doing and for the work everyone here and all the city employees are doing to help make this happen.
So don't debate the half day at the fair, because this is the team that gets it done every day. And our salaries, all the salaries are on public information. You can find what everybody makes here, and these individuals, not me, these individuals could go into the private sector tomorrow. And I promise you, they'll double their pay. I can show you double their pay, but they choose to stay in LaPorte because they love this community and they want to continue to see it prosper. And that's the other thing. We're still working with Norfolk Southern for the depot buildings, and we're in need of mental health support. We can continue to ignore mental health, but right now, most people, and maybe Chief Buell, Chief Snyder can talk to this, but where do they go? Their option right now for those with mental health issues is go to jail. Doesn't work out well.
Or
when
the
they go to jail.
hospital, which is not equipped to deal with mentally ill patients.
The hospital is a very short-term issue. If we ED somebody, they're out before an officer gets a report done or whatever. It's not the answer. We need healthcare facilities to take care of those mentally challenged individuals, and I think we're starting to get on track now of what we need. And it will help alleviate a lot of problems that we have if they're being taken care of, less calls, so.
And to be proactive with their mental health rather than it being.
Exactly, rather than reaction.
Thank you.
So there's an opportunity to work together on all our levels of government to say what's best. And we've got great volunteer fire departments that work jointly. That does a great job. But what else do those, with all the funding and we need every penny at the county level, at the city. That's the frustration when you see the fighting and debating, arguing. We got a lot done just yesterday, just in one day. Meetings we had and things that were done, and that's the expectation every day, and we need to hold that high expectation everywhere. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a great 4th, everybody. See you on the parade route.